All right, folks, let's clear something up right away. You've probably seen people swearing by bone broth as the magical elixir for muscle growth and aging. Sounds nice, cozy, warm, and maybe even a little medieval, but when it comes to actual science, bone broth doesn't do much for fighting muscle loss or building strength. Now, here's the truth. If you want to fight sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle, and actually build new muscle, you need high-quality protein that's rich in leucine. And the king of that category, drumroll, whey protein. Why whey? Because it has one of the highest leucine contents of any food source. Leucine is like the on switch for muscle growth. It triggers muscle protein synthesis, bone broth. Cute, whey protein, anabolic. Next, here's the deal. As we age, our muscles become resistant to smaller doses of protein. You need a solid, leucine-rich dose to wake them up. That means around 25-40 grams of high-quality protein per meal. Bone broth just doesn't cut it. Whey, eggs, lean meats, and dairy, that's where the magic is. And finally, let's not forget, food alone doesn't build muscle. You have to combine this with resistance training. Muscle is a use it or lose it system. No amount of sipping bone broth on the couch will stop sarcopenia, but lifting weights paired with leucine-rich foods absolutely will. So, bottom line, bone broth might be good for comfort on a cold day, but if your goal is fighting sarcopenia and building muscle, you want whey protein and other leucine-rich foods combined with smart training. That's the science. Okay, so let's get into it. You've probably heard the hype around bone broth, right? Somewhere between your neighbor who thinks crystals heal joint pain and that influencer on Instagram who swears sipping a mug of warm broth will make you jacked at 70. It sounds wholesome, it sounds natural, and hey, it even looks nice in a rustic little mason jar. But here's the truth. When we actually look at the science, bone broth is, well, let's just say it's the equivalent of bringing a water pistol to a gunfight when it comes to building muscle and preventing sarcopenia. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying bone broth is bad. It's not poison, it's not going to rot your insides, and it might even give you a little cozy feeling on a winter night. But that's not the question. The question is, does it live up to the hype? And the hype says bone broth heals your joints, strengthens your bones, builds muscle, stops aging, and maybe also cures heartbreak. That's a tall order. So let's measure it against reality. What is bone broth, really? It's basically water with some boiled animal parts in it. You've got collagen, gelatin, a bit of protein, a sprinkle of minerals, and that's about it. The star of the bone broth marketing campaign is collagen. Collagen is amazing for your skin. Collagen is amazing for your joints. Collagen builds muscle. Sounds awesome. Except, collagen is not a high-quality protein for muscle growth. Why? Because it's missing one very important thing, a strong amino acid profile, especially leucine. Leucine is the magic button. It's the amino acid that says to your body, hey, time to build muscle. Flip the switch, start protein synthesis. Without enough leucine, you're basically knocking on the muscle building door, but nobody's answering. And guess what? Collagen protein, which is what bone broth mostly has, is incredibly low in leucine. It's like trying to start your car without a key. You can sit there all day, but nothing's going to happen. Now, people often ask, well, but isn't some protein better than none? If bone broth has a little protein, maybe it helps, right? Sure, technically some protein is better than zero. If your only two options are bone broth or literally eating nothing, okay, fine, bone broth wins. But let's be real here. You have access to chicken breast, eggs, fish, beans, whey protein, shakes, Greek yogurt, all of which blow bone broth completely out of the water. You're not in a survival situation where the only thing between you and starvation is sipping broth like it's 1825. You live in the modern world. You can get protein that actually matters. And when we're talking about sarcopenia, that's the gradual loss of muscle as we age, the stakes are way higher than just better than nothing. Sarcopenia is no joke. It's not just about having smaller arms or being a little weaker. It's about losing independence. It's about not being able to stand up without help, not being able to carry groceries, not being able to catch yourself when you trip. Muscle is literally survival tissue as we get older, and what combats sarcopenia? Two things: progressive resistance training and high-quality protein intake. Notice what's missing from that list: bone broth. Bone broth doesn't stop sarcopenia because it doesn't stimulate muscle protein synthesis effectively. You'd have to drink buckets of it to get anywhere close to the leucine threshold needed, and even then, you'd mostly just be full of warm liquid and running to the bathroom every half hour. That's not an anti-aging protocol, that's just bad planning. So why does bone broth still get pushed so hard? Simple: marketing. It's easier to sell someone on a simple, comforting story than it is to sell them on science. Bone broth feels natural, ancestral, almost mystical. A steaming cup in your hand feels like self-care. Whey protein, that sounds like something from a supplement store with fluorescent lighting and gym bros flexing in the corner. Which one feels like the magic secret? Bone broth. Which one actually works? Whey protein, eggs, lean meats, and other high leucine foods. But those don't sound as romantic, so they don't make the Instagram reels. Here's the reality check. Muscle isn't built on good vibes, traditions, or cozy soups. Muscle is built when you provide your body with the raw materials it needs, high-quality protein with enough leucine, and then give it a reason to use those materials, which is resistance training. Bone broth doesn't do either of those things effectively. It's not anabolic, it's not muscle preserving, and it's definitely not a cure for sarcopenia. So next time you see someone sipping on bone broth like it's the fountain of youth, understand what's really happening. They're drinking flavored water with a little protein in it. Nothing wrong with that if it makes them happy, but it's not the same as actually giving your body what it needs to fight aging. You want muscle. You want strength into your 70s, 80s, 90s. Forget bone broth. Get yourself some real protein, lift some weights, and stop falling for fairy tales disguised as nutrition advice. So let's talk about the real hero of the story here: whey protein. Now, I know what some of you are thinking: whey protein. Isn't that just for bodybuilders with shaker bottles and too many tank tops? No. Whey protein is for anyone who has a body and wants to keep that body strong, functional, and resistant to the muscle loss that comes with aging. That's all of us, by the way. Whey protein is basically the Ferrari of protein sources: fast, efficient, and built with performance in mind. Why? Because of its amino acid profile and, most importantly, its leucine content. Leucine is the MVP. If muscle growth was a rock concert, leucine would be the lead singer. Without it, the show doesn't even start. You could have every other amino acid in the band playing their instruments, but without leucine, the lights don't turn on, the mic doesn't work, and the crowd goes home disappointed. Here's how it works. When you eat protein, your body breaks it down into amino acids. These amino acids float around in your bloodstream, and your muscles can use them as building blocks. But to actually start the process of building new muscle protein synthesis, you need a certain trigger. That trigger is leucine. Think of it like this: protein is the construction materials for your house, but leucine is the contractor showing up and saying, "All right, let's actually build this thing." Without the contractor, the lumber just sits there. Whey protein brings that contractor in every single time. Now, you might be wondering, but can't I just get leucine from other foods? Absolutely, you can. Eggs, chicken, fish, beef, dairy, they all have leucine. But here's the kicker: whey protein has one of the highest concentrations of leucine per serving of any food you can consume. That means with one scoop of whey, you've hit the leucine threshold that flips the muscle building switch. With bone broth, good luck. You'd need gallons, and even then you wouldn't get close. With beans, they're great, but you'd need a wheelbarrow of them to match the leucine in a simple whey shake. Another advantage of whey protein is how fast it digests. It gets into your system quickly, which means your muscles get access to those amino acids faster. It's like ordering same-day delivery instead of waiting a week. When you're trying to optimize muscle recovery and growth, that speed matters. Now, I'm not saying you need to slam a whey shake within 30 seconds of racking your last rep. Let's kill that myth right now. but having fast digesting leucine-rich protein available around your workouts is a huge benefit. And let's not forget, whey protein is incredibly practical. You don't need to cook it, season it, or prepare it. You just scoop, shake, and drink. Done. You can take it to work, you can take it on a trip, you can use it when you're in a rush. And no, it's not some dangerous chemical concoction. It's literally derived from milk. People have been consuming whey for centuries. The supplement industry just figured out how to put it in a tub instead of leaving it as a byproduct of cheese making. Here's another key point. As we get older, our bodies become less responsive to small doses of protein. This is called anabolic resistance. What that means is if you're 20 years old, you might be able to get a muscle growth response from 15 grams of protein. But if you're 60, that same 15 grams won't cut it. You need closer to 30 or even 40 grams per meal to really stimulate muscle protein synthesis. Whey protein makes this easy. One scoop, boom, you've already got a big chunk of what you need. Combine it with some eggs, chicken, or Greek yogurt, and you've hit the target. And just to clear up a common myth, no, whey protein does not damage your kidneys unless you already have severe kidney disease. No, whey protein is not going to make you fat unless you drink it on top of already eating way too much food. And no, whey protein is not unnatural. Do you eat cheese? Then congratulations, you're already consuming whey. You just didn't know it. The only thing whey protein does differently is it delivers a concentrated, convenient, scientifically proven muscle building protein directly to you. So why is whey such a game changer for preventing sarcopenia? Because sarcopenia is all about losing muscle mass over time, and the way to fight it is to consistently stimulate muscle growth. Whey protein makes that easy, efficient, and reliable. It gives your body the leucine punch it needs to say, we're still building muscle. We're not letting age win. Let's put it all together. If you're serious about maintaining your strength and independence as you age, if you want to keep playing with your grandkids, carrying your groceries, hiking with your friends, or just living life on your own terms, then you need to prioritize muscle. And muscle doesn't get built on magic soups or internet gimmicks. It gets built on science. Science says leucine is king, and whey protein delivers leucine better than almost anything else you can eat. So next time you're debating what really helps your muscles, remember, whey protein isn't just for bodybuilders. It's for anyone who wants to fight aging with actual tools that work. If bone broth is a bedtime story, whey protein is the engineering manual. One feels nice, the other actually gets the job done. Here's something people don't want to hear. Getting older changes the rules of the game, and no, I'm not talking about your bedtime moving from midnight to 9 p.m. I'm talking about muscle. When you're young, your body is basically a muscle building machine. You eat a modest amount of protein, do some resistance training, and boom, your muscles respond like fireworks on New Year's Eve. But as the years go on, that same modest amount of protein doesn't light up the system the same way. The signal gets weaker. This is called anabolic resistance. Anabolic resistance is your body saying, hey, I'm not going to respond to this tiny dose of protein anymore. If you want me to actually turn on the muscle building machinery, you're going to have to turn up the volume. It's like talking to a teenager with headphones in. You can whisper all you want, but unless you raise your voice, they're not listening. So, what does this mean in practical terms? It means that while a 20-year-old might be able to stimulate muscle growth with 15 or 20 grams of protein in a meal, someone who's 60 or 70 needs closer to 25, 30, maybe even 40 grams in one shot to get the same anabolic response. That's not bad news, it's just reality. And if you adjust for it, you can still build and maintain muscle well into older age. Ignore it, and you'll be sipping your bone broth wondering why your muscles keep shrinking. Let's look at why this happens. As we age, our muscles become less sensitive to the amino acids in our food. It's not that the protein disappears or stops working. It's that the muscle tissue needs a bigger push to respond. Think of it like an old car engine. When it was brand new, a little tap on the gas pedal and it roared to life. After decades on the road, you've got to press that pedal harder to get the same acceleration. That's your muscle in older age. It still works, it still responds, but it needs more input. Now, here's where things go wrong for a lot of people. Older adults often eat less protein, not more. Why? Because appetite can decrease with age. Chewing tougher protein foods can be inconvenient. And culturally, we've been told things like don't eat too much meat, it's bad for you. Add in smaller portion sizes and more carb-heavy meals, and suddenly you're sitting at 15 grams of protein per meal, which for an older adult is basically like throwing pebbles at a tank. You're not moving the needle. If you really want to fight sarcopenia, you need to structure your meals with enough protein per sitting to overcome anabolic resistance. That means meals with 25 to 40 grams of high-quality protein. What does that look like? A scoop and a half of whey protein, or a big chicken breast, or 3 to 4 eggs plus some Greek yogurt. Not tiny bird-like portions, but actual servings that your muscles can respond to. Now, some people worry won't eating that much protein hurt my kidneys. No, unless you already have serious kidney disease. For healthy people, even older adults, higher protein intake is completely safe. In fact, it's protective. It supports muscle mass, keeps bones healthier, helps with satiety, and even supports weight management. The real risk isn't eating too much protein, it's eating too little and watching your strength and independence fade away. Another point worth making, you don't just need the grams of protein, you need the quality of protein. You want complete proteins with all the essential amino acids, especially leucine. That means animal-based proteins like meat, dairy, eggs, and whey, or if you're plant-based, carefully combining plant sources or using soy and pea protein isolates. The bottom line, not all proteins are equal, and as you get older, the margin for error gets smaller. You can't afford to waste meals on low-quality protein sources if your goal is preserving muscle. And let's pair this with exercise, because eating protein without giving your muscles a reason to use it is like sending construction workers to an empty field with no blueprints. They'll just stand there, shrugging. Resistance training is the blueprint. It's the signal that says we need stronger, bigger muscle fibers. Get to work. The protein then supplies the raw material. Older adults who eat enough protein and lift weights can actually reverse sarcopenia. They can add muscle, strength, and quality of life. Here's the real-world impact. Imagine two 70-year-olds. One eats 15 grams of protein per meal and never strength trains. Over time, they lose muscle, struggle to climb stairs, and eventually need help with daily tasks. The other eats 30 grams of protein per meal and strength trains 2 or 3 times a week. They keep their strength, stay mobile, stay independent, and enjoy life. Same age, same human biology, different choices. Protein dosing is the difference between those two futures. So the next time someone tells you, oh, just eat light, you don't need much protein when you're older, understand how backwards that is. The science says the opposite. The older you are, the more protein you need per meal to get the job done. It's not about eating like a teenager who can grow on pizza and soda. It's about eating like someone who's smart enough to know their body needs a stronger signal. At the end of the day, anabolic resistance is just a challenge, not a death sentence. It means you've got to step up your protein game if you want to keep your muscles strong. Don't settle for the myth that losing muscle is inevitable with age. Yes, sarcopenia is common, but it's not destiny. Combination of resistance training and higher protein doses, 25 to 40 grams per meal, can keep you strong, functional, and independent for decades longer than if you just coast along with the bare minimum. Okay, let's cut right to it. You can eat the best diet in the world, hit your protein goals, buy the fanciest whey protein powder, and cook the leanest chicken breast ever grilled. None of that will save your muscles if you don't actually use them. Nutrition without resistance training is like filling up a car with premium gas, but never turning the key. You're just sitting in the driveway admiring your fuel tank while the car rusts away. Here's the hard truth. Muscles are a use it or lose it system. The body is efficient, and it doesn't keep things around that aren't being used. If you don't challenge your muscles regularly, your body says, well, I guess we don't need this expensive tissue anymore. And make no mistake, muscle is expensive. It burns calories, it requires upkeep, it's metabolically active. Your body will happily downsize if you give it no reason to keep it. That's why resistance training isn't optional. It's mandatory if you want to preserve or build muscle. Now, let's talk about what resistance training actually does. When you lift weights, or do any form of progressive resistance exercise, you create tension in your muscle fibers. This tension, especially when it's close to your maximum ability, causes tiny amounts of damage at the microscopic level. Your body senses this stress and goes, "Oh, we better repair this and make it stronger so next time we're better prepared." That repair process, fueled by protein, is what builds muscle. No stress, no adaptation. No challenge, no growth. You can eat 40 grams of protein at every meal, but if you never send the signal that more muscle is needed, your body has no reason to build it. This is why you see older adults who eat reasonably well but never exercise, still losing muscle and strength year after year. They're giving their body the raw materials but no blueprint. Imagine dumping a truckload of bricks in your backyard and expecting a house to magically appear. Without a builder, without training, those bricks just sit there until they sink into the mud. And let's be clear, resistance training isn't just for young people who want big biceps or six-pack abs. It's for everyone, especially older adults, because what do older adults need most? Balance, strength, coordination, the ability to stand up, carry groceries, open jars, climb stairs, and catch themselves if they trip. Guess what builds and maintains all of that? Resistance training. Cardio is great for your heart and lungs, but it doesn't preserve muscle mass anywhere near the same way. Yoga is awesome for flexibility and mindfulness, but it doesn't provide enough resistance to stop sarcopenia. If you want to keep muscle, you need actual load-bearing progressive resistance exercise. Now, before you panic and think resistance training means you have to deadlift 400 pounds or compete in powerlifting, let's clear that up. Resistance training is simply moving your body against resistance with progressive overload. That could be free weights, machines, resistance bands, or even bodyweight exercises if they're challenging enough. The important part isn't looking hardcore, it's providing your muscles with enough tension and progression to keep them adapting. A leg press in the gym, perfect. Squats with a chair at home holding dumbbells. Great. Bicep curls with bands, fantastic. The tool doesn't matter, the principle does, and progression is key. Doing the same easy set of curls with 5-pound dumbbells for the rest of your life won't cut it. Your body adapts to whatever you do consistently, and then it needs more. That's why it's called progressive overload. You gradually add weight, reps, or difficulty over time to keep the challenge alive. That's what keeps your muscles saying, "Okay, we need to stay strong, we need to grow, we need to stick around." Now let's connect this with nutrition, because the two work hand in hand. Training provides the signal, nutrition provides the raw materials. It's like training hands the blueprint to the construction crew, and protein provides the bricks. Do one without the other, and you get nowhere. Only training, you break down muscle, but don't repair it properly. Only nutrition, you've got the bricks but no construction. Put them together and you're building something real. This combination is how you fight sarcopenia, and not just fight, it's how you win. Studies have shown that older adults who do resistance training and consume higher protein diets can add muscle and strength even in their 70s, 80s, and beyond. It's not too late. Muscle doesn't care about your age. It only cares about the signals you send it. Give it tension, give it protein, and it will respond. Think about the alternative, no resistance training. You slowly lose muscle mass year after year. Your legs weaken, your balance declines, your strength evaporates. Suddenly stairs are hard, then walking is hard, then standing up is hard. That's the slope sarcopenia puts you on. But resistance training literally reverses that slope. It keeps you climbing instead of sliding down. And this isn't about vanity, it's about quality of life, independence, and health. So here's the takeaway: if you're serious about keeping muscle, nutrition alone is not enough. Resistance training is the driver. You have to challenge your muscles, push them, make them work. Pair that with high-quality protein, and you've got the formula for staying strong, functional, and independent well into old age. Ignore the training, and no amount of bone broth, whey shakes, or expensive supplements will save you. At the end of the day, resistance training is the fountain of youth we've been looking for. Not magic potions, not trendy diets, not miracle supplements, just good old-fashioned progressive overload paired with smart nutrition. It's not glamorous, but it works. And if you want to keep your muscles, keep your strength, and keep your life in your own hands, there is no substitute.